Setting up titles, capitals, and abbreviations. Words not capitalized in a title are coordinating conjunctions, prepositions, articles, and the word to in infinitives. The most common coordinating conjunctions are and, or, nor, for, so, but, yet, although there are others. Some people use the mnemonic fanboys to remember them. Here are some prepositions. The mnemonic to determine whether something is a preposition or not is anything an airplane can do to a cloud. I add plus other things because not every preposition fits that mnemonic. Prepositions would be things like in, an airplane can be in a cloud. Inside, beside, on. An airplane can be on a cloud. It doesn't mean it's going to park there, but it could look like it's on a cloud. Over, beyond, with, through, of. Some people say of doesn't work in that mnemonic, but if you like to imagine what shapes of clouds might appear to be, then you could use of as a preposition and it works with this mnemonic. If I'm looking up at the sky and I see something that looks like that, I could say, oh, that cloud looks like it's an airplane. Another thing that you have to be concerned about regarding prepositions is that sometimes they're adverbs. So if I have a title, dissolving through the portal, here through is a preposition, so it's lowercase. If I have a title like this one, when Thelma was through with crying, through here is an adverb, so it's capitalized. Articles. There's only 3 of them, a, an, the. The word to in an infinitive, to go, to laugh, to eat, to hug. Those are non-conjugated verbs. The exception to the rule is when these words begin or end a title or follow a colon. So let's take a look at some examples. Harper leaves to kill a mockingbird. To kill is an infinitive, but the word to is in the first position, so it's capitalized. The word a is an article, so it's lowercase. In John Grisham's A Time to Kill, a is an article, but it's in the first position, so it's capitalized. To is part of an infinitive, so it's lowercase. In Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms, a is an article, but it's in the first position, so it's capitalized. To is a preposition, so it is lowercase. To arms is not an infinitive. If you said to arm, you might have an infinitive. If I say I need to arm the troops, then I'd have an infinitive. Either way, the word to would be lowercase. Philip P. Fricke's Law and Public Choice, A Critical Introduction, has a coordinating conjunction here, so it's lowercase. It has an article here, but the article follows a colon, so it's capital. Let's take a look at integrating sentences with titles. In sentence number 1, I have when Primo Levi first published If Not Now, When, the title was Se Non Ora Quando. I have a comma here because this part is a dependent clause, and the next part is an independent clause, so I need a comma here. The question mark here is also part of the title, just like this question mark is part of the title in English. I need a comma here because it's internal punctuation. The question mark here belongs to the title, but I don't need an additional period at the end. Notice also that the capitalization for the foreign language title is not the same as the English capitalization. This is traditional capitalization. I'm using MLA format. A different language is going to follow the format standard of that language. For sentence 1A, I'm demonstrating how to set up an abbreviation when you want to use the first letter of a couple of words. You could use 2 words, 3 words, 4 words, maybe, but for the most part, 2 or 3 is probably pretty good. Notice that the abbreviation, the NW, is italicized as you're setting up the abbreviation and when you drop the parentheses and actually use the abbreviation. It's in italics because this is in italics. I've also set up a different abbreviation. If you want to use a word from the title for your abbreviation, you can, but you should probably avoid adding the punctuation. Notice how awkward it looks here when you add the punctuation to the word. In 1C, I have chosen a different word. Now, I could choose the word when as well and just not include the question mark, but I've chosen the word now. The parentheses is telling me I'm setting up the abbreviation, and then here's what it looks like when I use the abbreviation. Notice that the commas here follow the abbreviation in the parenthetical reference because this belongs to that, and I can't separate the abbreviation from the title with a comma. So the abbreviation is always going to go with the title, and any punctuation will follow it. If we are looking at a title that is in quotation marks because it's a smaller thing inside of a bigger thing, we need to be aware of the fact that commas and periods go inside quotation marks. Semicolons and colons and semicolons go outside quotation marks. Question marks and exclamation marks depend on context. So here I have in Diana DeVecchia's What Are the Best Ways to Prevent Bullying in School? I have a question mark here. My closing quotation mark is going to be after the comma because commas and periods go inside quotation marks. This comma goes inside the quotation mark. This has a comma here because in Diana DeVecchia's What Are the Best Ways to Prevent Bullying in School is a prepositional phrase. It's also an introductory phrase. We set those aside with a comma. Then my independent clause is parents learn about measures they can initiate on their children's campus. If I want to set up an abbreviation for this title and I want it to be the first letter of a couple of words, I'm going to pick a couple of significant words and I'll have quotation marks around it, and then the parentheses are telling the reader ever after this title is going to be denoted with the quotation marks and the BW. Notice I have a comma here because the abbreviation belongs to the title. When I'm using the abbreviation, I drop the parentheses and it looks like this. If I want to use a word for my abbreviation, I'm going to choose a word in here that's not going to be a word used frequently in the essay because that could get confusing. I'm also not going to choose a word that will be possibly in other titles of other articles. Prevent, bullying, and school, as well as the word best, are probably going to be frequently used words. So I'm going to choose the word ways. Notice that this is the setup in the parentheses, the comma is here, and notice what it looks like when I am using the abbreviation as opposed to setting it up. So then I have in Diana DeVecchia's What Are the Best Ways to Prevent Bullying in School? Parents learn about measures they can initiate on their children's campus. Ways suggests that children be given the same options adults exercise in similar situations. I hope that was helpful.